Welcome back. January 5th, 2021, podcast 40. This is the third one, number C. It's podcast 40C. This one is going to be, first one was about the latest news and information, what's going on. Talked a little about the summer recruiting, or spring and summer vaccination. I didn't go too much into that. I can save that for another one, because now I don't have to do these live. I can just do them and then post them, which is probably better because it allows me to think about when I'm in the mood to do this, because this is not an easy thing. I've been working on this since 6 o'clock and it's already 10:15 in the evening. What that tells you is, as I mentioned earlier, 4 tries on Twitter and Periscope. And then took me about an hour to get into the YouTube Blue Star Media YouTube channel. This is where we're going to be from now on. If you get a chance, hit the subscribe and notification button at the bottom so you know when we do more of these. And I'll probably increase them more. It'll be shorter. Probably like, yo, by the way, blah, 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 blah. And I won't give a lot of news or information. It'll be like, hey, here's what's going on, and they'll be shorter and something people, it's like maybe, what's going on today or what's going on every 2 days, because it's faster to do. But it's a little bit load up. You have to tag a lot of stuff. Okay, let's get to this number C. Okay, this was interesting. This is a lot of odds and ends. The Athletics Wasserman took a look into football recruiting, focused on the depth and breadth of cheating. While some of the 15 staffers Wasserman spoke to said he witnessed it minimally or on a very limited basis, others indicated it's ubiquitous. That means it's commonplace. It's like everybody cheats. Everybody, I didn't even read the rest of it. Everybody knows the Southeast Conference is like, come on. That's why they get all the players. And all the other schools are not, everybody knows it's pro heaven in the SEC, because they take football seriously, and people are scared of basketball going down that road. But then if you look at certain schools, they're there already. It's just not conference wide. And to be truthful, there's not a lot of impactful talent. And that's going to be another future podcast about where high school basketball, collegiate basketball, the NBA, USAB, the most dominant shoe brand in the world, Nike, for basketball, and all these entities come together and impact on the future of the sport, which they will do, because we've got madhouse COVID, we got madhouse rules, we got madhouse everything. The system as we if every 2019, say goodbye to that decade and say goodbye to that system. 2020 was the start of the second decade, and now we're in the second year of the second decade. And let me tell you, these last year or this year is going to be somewhat similar to last year. And how I'm going to tell you that is because there's a lot of stuff coming that's going to be, shown to everybody as we get through January, February. And I've been told I spend too much time trying to be Nostradamus on this stuff. And I'm like, no, you have to have information to make sound business decisions. And I do talk to a lot of the top travel team directors, event operators. Half the people of influence, I look at who watched on Twitter, and I only saw some of the names, and it's a who's who of the sport. Why? Because we all know there's no place you can go to get. Heck, I even listen to my own self just to know that what did I get that in there or not? Or, is that really that important? Yeah, it is. I said it. Okay. That doesn't mean I'm an expert. I read. I'm researching. I'm giving some opinions, but it's based off of research and information that others have provided. So if I'm not reading their information and then trying to form a valued opinion, then I thank you for coming to listen to a valued opinion along with the information, So you're hearing what I'm getting my information from. You're making a determination from it too. Okay, so let's go back to the college football recruiting, because this is going to have an implication on NIL, because NIL is going to impact not just basketball, as we are all basketball people. It's going to impact football even more. Why? A quarterback's worth $2 million, and this was in Sports Business Journal. It was under the title Moneyball. A quarterback's worth $2.5 million, and if you can see it, if you're listening to this, I'm telling you, it's there. If you can see it, I put the page up. You can't read it, but it's there. You can Google it. Like I said, you may have to pay to read it, but it's like every position now has a value. And guess what? If that's true, then what's going to be here? We'll save that for maybe a future podcast, because once we get to this, when it goes live, we'll be able to interact with people who chat online, and we'll be able to say, hey, is this something that, what's the most valuable position in girls basketball? What's the most valued position in men's basketball? Think about that one. We'll be having that discussion sometime in the next few months. Okay, so they talk about the ask whether ever witnessed intentional cheating. Firsthand answers vary. Yeah, hello? Come on. Women's basketball. Does men's basketball cheat? I was sitting in the NCA in their offices, and this is 4 years ago. Every event operator in America was there. I sat in the front of the room with Chris Menig, and Sandy Parrott was there. And the men event operators were arguing with some of the women operators. And I turned around and I said, look, we all know the story about the famous player, number 2 draft choice, who basically got paid to get off of one plane, was supposed to go to a tournament, got paid $20K to switch planes and go to another event. And when the plane landed and he wasn't there, they figured out he got bought. Well, guess what? That's a rumor. It's a famous urban tale that everybody in the room went like this with, because the word is it's a true story. Word. Like I said, urban tale, rumor, alleged. But if you listen to the street, oh, that was true. And that's just really we even talk about how boys get paid, from travel teams to money laundering to, if you want to call it money laundering, just moving money from one spot to another based on this, but you're doing it for that, and how people make sure they take a slice off of the top of this and that. I've got tons of stories about travel boys basketball. Does that happen on the girl side? No. If it did, that would be enjoyable, because the pro players here for women have to go to nobody's paying. What would be the example? It would be a Russian team that doesn't pay as much as it used to, paying a player to go directly to their team. That ain't happening. Oh, well, what about college? Women's basketball ain't, they get paid. Well, it's going to be intriguing to see how salaries change after COVID, because a lot of schools in their budgets, a lot of people took pay cuts. Do you really think schools are saying, oh, well, yeah, we're giving you that money back? I don't know. New normal. Are they going to say, hey, we didn't get our football money or our basketball money in 2021, so we're going to ask you to take another pay cut? And then when you get to the third year of this, are they really going to give you your money? Okay. I don't know. This is why this is all intriguing. I want to get through this because I don't want to have people going too long for this one. By and large, the recruiting staffers said they do not turn in others who were cheating, explaining that without hard evidence, the NCAA will tell them nothing can be done. That's because you don't rat out on football. Everybody knows that when you had a women's basketball violation, you had to go to the compliance officer at your school, who then had to turn it into the conference office. So if you complained about women's basketball, okay, they're going to say, what? You're complaining about this? No, because we don't want to bring this up, because what's next is football. and we don't want to deal with that. So they would shut it down. Or if they really wanted to make an issue, or we need to act like we're doing something, I have to validate my job. So I'll make all the little minor violations. Those level 2 and level 3 violations are less and less, not one, I guess, or it's the reverse. But they wouldn't, who gets charged? I remember Chris Schumann and Bob Minix were doing something with let's just say a Big Ten school in the state. And they tried to get something done with women's basketball, and they got shut down by administrators higher up, to the point within a year and a half, both of those gentlemen left the NCAA. Why? Because internally the NCAA would shut down stuff because they didn't want to hear it. Oh yeah, friends got powerful friends. And I remember that story. And if you know those two gentlemen, former employees of the NCAA, go ask them about that. They'll be like, oh, well, we're talking 90s. Okay. One big sense staffer, it's the rules of the streets. You don't snitch. If you want to run your program that way, fine. If it is a kid I can care about, then I have a relationship with, then we'll give them some advice. I don't turn anyone in because it doesn't affect me. There you go. So when you see NCAA violations, there's a reason. It's because it got sloppy and stupid. And that's why we're going to see change in basketball, because if you go back to the John Thompson New York Times interview or his opinion piece, you'll see what he said ties into all this. College leaders focus on cutting costs, not sports. In fact, was it Dartmouth sued and they brought sports back? Brown's bringing sports back, but for 2 more years, and they're cutting them. He said they had to choose between the lesser of 2 evils. So they cut expenses by eliminating sports, as nearly 30 schools have done this year, or they find another method to curb spending, with blue chip athletic programs operating at the highest levels, such as Clemson, Iowa, Minnesota, and Stanford. That's what they put in here, not me. And numerous mid-level schools. The choice was to cut sports close to 100 in Division I this year, and more than 350 total across all divisions. 350 teams were cut. Sports were cut. That's like what? 3,000 athletes? Anywhere from 3,000 down to like 1,500? Really? Probably more. Cutting sports such as gymnastics or track and field, programs that feed the vast majority of athletes to the U.S. Olympic teams, can save $1 million, $2 million annually in athletic budgets of $100 million or more at the Power 5 level. This is where eventually we're going to have a sport tax, because it's going to have to go to the USOC to fund these sports, because college sports is going to get out of funding Olympic sports like they do in other countries. That is a big deal. Let's get these done. The NCAA is set to roll out its Nca Leadership Collective, a networking profile database that allows senior athletics and school officials to view career profiles of seasoned people of color who are athletic administrators and coaches. This means if you apply for a job in the future and I want to apply, they will have a database of people who, I won't be in it, but my I guess the people I have to compete against are, and then it'll be up to the administrators to feel what they need to do with their program, what kind of statement they need to make. But now, and this is the reason why, now when senior executives on campus or in conference office say they don't know where to find qualified administrators and coaches of color, we can point directly to the Leadership Collective. I think that's good, because I know there are people like Felicia, Allen and others who've been working at this. I know I paid for, in the past, numerous people to attend her event for networking for assistant college coaches, a majority of whom were of color, and you donate to that because you want to see them rise up. And obviously it's a network. The Philadelphia Bells program has at least, besides all the numerous college coaches and even pro coaches, we also have a ton of administrators, and we have a ton of assistant coaches. and support staff positions in women's basketball just from one program. That's about a collective, group, a body of people. If you're serious, you look to where people are serious, and that's why here's a bigger step by the NCA, and that's from the NCA's leadership, and now the administrators. It's called Lead One. They have an actionable recommendations to create more diverse senior leadership in NCAA Division I football, bowl subdivision, college sports, FBS, college sports. White paper created by the Lead One DEI working group, basically saying that they want to come up with a database of qualified people to get there. If you're old, you pass on information. If you're young, it's like, wait a minute, I'm competing against them, so it don't matter, And then there's going to be a day when it's not going to be an issue. It's going to be an issue of, well, still, who do you know? Because there's not going to be it's going to be intriguing. Why? Because once you have, if the black population is 14%, do you need 14% representation? Or, as Dawn Staley mentioned, somebody mentioned there was a 77% participation of color, of athletes in certain sports, but you don't see those coaches being hired of color for sports where there's not that level of saturation of athletes of color. So I guess once we get to that medium of, it was like, if you took all the sports, it was only 7%. That's it. So if we have 77% and population's 14, then there is a definite need and goal for this until we reach 14. And then at that point, people can decide that, hey, we've reached equity of the population, so it's there. But then what do we do with this Hispanic 35% of the population? When do they say, hey, I need to get hired for soccer or for other sports? Wait a minute, is that biased because I said soccer? I don't know. But again, who's going to help project that representation? And then, I don't know. It's intriguing, but right now, this is a necessity. Bravo for the NCAA and Lead One, because a lot of people try to plead ignorance, and Dawn was right. Hey, we got to get more people in more sports, more representation. And I know a few of them are in those other sports that represent. I'm happy to say that. And I'm happy that they're there. We need more female coaches of color, brown and black, to be more involved in girls' sports because it's male dominated. And that's for the future. So, okay, here's the other stuff, and I'll try to get this done. Oh, man. On whether the NBA say, everybody's looking for more revenue. Uniform. Now, everybody's starting to go with betting. If you don't know that MGM bought one of the biggest British betting firms, and Caesars bought one. MGM's trying to buy their rival or their partner. And eventually, I could tell you more about this, but I'm going to hold right there. But that's up, and you're seeing these betting companies now starting to. If you get a chance, look at Rush Street, and you'll know what I'm talking about. NBA bet stream content should be utilized during actual game telecast, not just shoulder programming. Wow, that means you're going to have your DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever, and all your stats on another screen on your iPad as you're placing bets. This is getting crazy. Now you know why everybody's got to register online. The 76ers last month signed a deal with BetMGM, making them the official sports betting partner of the team. BetMGM officially went live in Pennsylvania back in December. The NBA now has 7 teams in states with legal sports betting: Sixers, Bulls, Wizards, Pacers, Grizzlies, Nuggets, and Trailblazers, with the Pistons likely on deck for this month, and Hornets later on. Simple Bet already works with key sports betting partners, including FanDuel and Interlot. Includes industry investors, including David Levy, Howard Schultz, Andre Agassi, the NBL Giants, and David Blitzer. Oh yeah, those are the powerful names. Adidas begins review to decide on potential Reebok sale. That came out last month. And it's funny, I heard this the other day, that, it said, let's see here. Per the Wall Street Journal, third quarter Reebok sales fell 12.3%, while Adidas sales fell 6.7%. Nike's is somewhere in there. Puff Day and somebody else is supposed to be involved, and they're thinking about buying Reebok. I heard that. Some boys basketball people were telling me that, and I was like, wow, okay. Spalding launched a limited edition black and gold basketball back in December, late December. It's called the Kobe Hall of Fame ball. The ball will sell for $300, with 824 available in the U.S. and 22,409 available globally. I wonder if they're still out there. I feel bad because Kobe Bryant, who I know in Philly because I was at his Gatorade Player of the Year dinner, and I really was so upset because he was ready to come in and help push and save girls basketball from the lack of respect and lack of funding and lack of attention that it got. He was going to come into the sport and just change the landscape. And it was just, I mean, everybody I talked to, I remember that. And I was so sad. And I not just sad for their family, for him, for everybody, you know, because I remember Earl Allen was up there from Sci-Fair, and he was telling me, oh yeah, I just met Kobe the night before. We were on the phone talking that night because he was telling me about what he was saying. And, you know, girls basketball went back under the stair, back in the cupboard, back under the stairs. Just like Harry Potter, live under the stairs. That's where girls basketball is. And I felt so bad. But he has a ball out there. Okay, a couple other things, and we're going to get done here. Loss of cookies and third-party data hampers media buyers' optimism look on 2021. Yeah, critically, 41% of media buyers do not know if their stakeholders have a clear understanding of the consequences of the digital traffic blocking targeted cookies. Oh yeah, it's going to be a big deal. And they're taking all your data, and they're going to get told no. And that was Apple's big thing, and they held it back, but there's going to be a big push for that. Loss of cookies. Twitter is going to set to discontinue its Periscope appliance on March 31st, 2021. I mentioned that earlier. That's sad. This was a big article. How would COVID affect scholarships for future college athletes? Ultimately, sports programs, with the exception of men's basketball and football, are feeling the blow of the shutdown. I will save that for a future discussion, maybe 41. Learfield IMG is moving out of the hospitality, ad business, and they're getting into sponsorship, transferring from sponsorship sales and organization to a digital data and content business. Remember that. Oh, didn't I just talk about MGM Bet and all that other stuff? You see where it's going. Couple of news items. Russia's name, flag, and anthem have been banned from the next two Olympics and any World Championship for the next 2 years. That was the doping and covering up positive tests. The athletes can compete as neutrals. So they're not punishing the country. They're not going to punish the athletes. They're just going to punish the country. And it's the Tokyo Olympics, Beijing 2022, and the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Ouch. And last one, Ohio State, COVID issues. This came out today. Overall, they're talking about how many bowl games were canceled or postponed before New Year's. And obviously there were bowls that took place. Overall, the doubleheader averaged 19 million viewers, down 2%, who watched the semifinals last year on December 28th. And right now, the championship game is having issues because Ohio State football has a COVID issue. There you go. There's a lot of stuff here. Thank you, 24. And I didn't even get to the sharper focus. I'll save that for collegiate sports. And thank you, everybody, for these two. I guess if you add them up, came to about over a bit of an hour, but that's a lot because I had 16 pages and almost 3.5 weeks to 4 weeks worth of information. And I didn't even talk about the Duke situation. I thought it was brilliant by Kara Lawson to postpone her year because she now gets a chance to really dive in and get her hands around it. And if there's an honorable mention for Coach of the Year, she should get it for just being bold and brave enough to make that move. Look forward to talking to everybody soon. Welcome to the Blue Star Media YouTube site. Let everybody know about it. And subscribe. Hit the notification. We'll be back again. Thanks, everybody.